Hey, good morning. I am making my tea right now. So, let's see, dogs are working at deer probably because the deer we're in rutting season, so the deer are running all over the property. Um, so I have a bunch of videos I have not posted from. Hold on. I have a bunch of videos I haven't posted. I'll post today. Um, and I'm making my tea right now, and I was going to show you kind of sort of what I do. I use it like the regular tea kettle, like my husband's family used. I'm having a crazy hair day, so you just have to ignore it. I will try really hard not to have the bangs steal the show. The show, as if it's a show. This is a video diary, unless my husband joins me, and then it becomes whatever that is. Anyway, so I've got my green tea. I'm covering up the label, as you can tell. So I have like 3 of those in there, and then I have the HEB brand of chai tea. Because my husband can't find the one I really, really like, I need to just order it on the computer. I'm trying not to turn around so you don't see my back. I have a citrus from our citrus tree. And then I'm going to put in, I'm going to cut a piece of ginger cut a piece of ginger. I'm going to take some of my nutmeg that I ground up that was the leftover pieces, but I have to use one of these to put it in there and then do this sort of thing to make it into powder. Or I could just put it in the tea, but you're not going to get all the flavor. So, and then I'm going to go here and use my cinnamon, my clove, my pumpkin spice. I don't really want to use my turmeric. It's good for coffee, but I'm not sure I'd like it in tea. Let's see, where's the other one? My allspice. And that's it. And then I'm going to use honey right here. And then sugar, organic sugar, which is right here. So I'm going to do that. And then I will come back on. And, and 2-year-old Red Hots. So I'm going to do that. And you're going to have to ignore my, I'm wearing a really comfortable bra, but it makes me look like I have 4 boobs. So just ignore it. And if my back looks really wide, ignore that too. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm letting that steep. And I've got my hops. My hops that I've got to take this morning really helps with depression and anxiety and stuff. But when I don't take it, my husband wants to strangle me because I'm peeing messy. And then niacin, and then my caffeine pill because it just works well for us. Anyway, so it's so cool. I have this. I'm not gonna turn my back on. So I've shown y'all this before. It's all dirty because it's got lemon stuff on it. But this is from my family. It's the big one. We used to have a little one and a big one, and my mom didn't want this. So this is how good that thing works, man. Like you could hide something in there, glue that back together. Anyway, so that is that's how we do our citrus. My husband is watching a webinar this morning, so he may join us later unless the webinar lasts a while because he's trying to learn how to work a program, and so he does that. I'm gonna have a really cute little. My teacup looks like that today. You see? Okay. Anyway, could have gone with the other one. It's in the dishwasher, but it's like when you have coffee, you want to have the big coffee mug. But when you have tea, you kind of want to do a little The little tea and the salsa thing. I have fancy ones, but I'm always scared to use those. So yesterday was Saturday. Today is Sunday the 17th. We do not have church this evening, and at some point, I'm kind of hoping I would like to get myself up early enough to actually go to one of the morning services and see if I can get through it. But I can always sit in the back and then leave if I can, whatever. But anyway, I haven't been to a morning church service in forever, but I've been to, evening ones. And so let's see. So yesterday we spent the day. The house looks a disaster. I have laundry like crazy. I have like no pajama pants left, which is like, of course, like I have a stack like this. It needs to be mended because we go out there and rip it on wire from chickens all the time. So I need to just sit and watch TV and mend some pajama pants. But we worked on the duck coop. Our duck coop, we made a really cute duck coop. It had a pond at one end, and then it had steps going up to the pond, and then we added to it, and to make like a little area for them, and then we put like there's like a wall in between, so you can kind of divide the ducks up, and we had like the male ducks on one side and then the female ducks on the other side, but we had to cover the pond because it was making so much mess. Because if you put a pond in there, they would sleep in the pond, they were playing it at night, they are just like nocturnal, and they will, it's like all night long, and then you come into like a muddy mess. And so we took took all of that apart, which makes me kind of sad, but I did take pictures of it before. So it had steps up to a really pretty little pond where it was fine when you had only a few ducks, but now we have 16 ducks, which only, how many are females? Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 females, 10 males. That's not great. So we do need to let go of some of the boys or make them a totally separate pen so that they don't. But all the girls are and possibly some of the boys are molting right now. So there's feathers like everywhere. And the duck enclosure gets really dirty. They're messy animals. They're so much fun to watch, but they're messy when they're confined. That space is like really messy. And they love mud, so they turn mud into just like the slipperiest, messiest mess. So they love to play with it, and it's just, they're fun. So anyway, we took that apart, and now I need to find a really cool thing to do with my little pond, my little drop-in pond thing liner. I have a pond. I could have another pond and put it someplace else. So I'll have to think of that. Anyway, what else was I going to say? So we did that all day yesterday, and then at some point, the girls were, especially the game birds, were all like standing around because they wanted to see what kind of bugs we came across and stuff, which was funny. Their game birds are great. They're hilarious. They'll like stand on your hands to see what you're doing. Oh, you moved a rock. What's under the rock? And the game birds are Bruce's, and they're just the funniest things. And so we have 4 of them, plus Maggie as a game bird mix. So we actually have 5, but Maggie doesn't hang around the other ones. And so we did that, and one of my Cochin, oh my gosh, I have this Cochin I can't stand, wink wink, who is like this tiny little buff Cochin little girl that I created with her mama as my full large fowl Cochin and buff Cochin, and her daddy is Marshmallow, my half Cochin, half Wyandotte, that I had gotten from a girl named Alicia, and some of his family line have gone to competition, and he's gorgeous. He's just a beautiful little boy. So he's my main rooster, and anyway, he makes big, beautiful babies. So she started choking, and I started freaking out, and Bruce started freaking out, and she's already going into the death spasms, where it's a horrible thing. They go through them. They will have, some of them will have a lot of them before they die, and it's just the most horrible thing. And I've held many birds as they go through that, and it's just horrible. And she was going through that. He's freaking out. He goes into the house to try to find tweezers so we can pull the mess of stuff that's in her throat out, because it's blocking her airway, and she's inhaled some of it, and she's like dying in my hands. And so he's screaming out the window, "I can't find them, where are they?" And I'm like, "I'm a little busy right now," and I'm trying to dig it out with my finger, but she's so little. And so finally I find a stick, and I'm digging it out with a stick, and she's already had like 3 or 4 death spasm thingies. And finally, at some point, and he comes out with the tweezers, and I have gotten most of this stuff out. She's starting to breathe again, and I took the tweezers and got the rest of this stuff out of her airway, and then she looked really, really tired, and I was still worried I was going to lose her, because you can lose them to stress. I just lost a Welsummer to stress, and you can lose them to stress really easy. If something happens where I had a Welsummer who was egg bound the other day, and when they get egg bound, and I don't think it was egg bound. I think she had what they call a lash egg, which is basically not a good sign. It could be that she was getting egg yolk peritonitis, and they get that if they don't have, it can be a diet thing, it can be a genetic thing, but it can be a diet thing I'm sorry, I'm talking about chickens, so it might be boring. It can be a diet thing if they don't get enough calcium and stuff like that. But anyway, she I soaked her. We did all kinds of stuff to try to help her, and she died of stress. And so I've got to do her necropsy today to make sure, to see exactly if it was an egg or if it was, something else. So I took this little buff, and I put her in Maverick's cage, which is a smaller little cage that's kind of dark. So I put her in that cage and closed her in, and we kind of kept an eye on her. And she just stood there for really like an hour, where she looked like she was recovering. And then finally she started kind of walking around and whatever, and Bruce said, "Hey, can I let her out?" And I said, "Yes." So we kind of watched her, and I'll have to see today. Hopefully I think she made it. Hopefully she did, but like I said, stress, it's just, I don't know what it is about, they're real delicate animals. I learned that the very first time when we found a bird, and we had it in a cage, and it was somebody's bird had gotten away. It was like a little parakeet or whatever. And I was trying to, once we put it in the cage, and it rested for a little while, and then I was trying to take it out of the cage, and it just went haywire in the cage, and it just died. So the kids always remember me as the bird killer from that one. And I felt horrible. I felt absolutely horrible. But it was my very first experience with a bird. And I used to say, "I will never have birds." And here I used to say I didn't like birds. Anyway, so that happened yesterday. That was tense and scary, and yeah, and it's it's really bad when it's a bird that is like your absolute least favorite. Take that, turn it around. Bird that you like look at every day, and you go, "Oh my God, you're so absolutely ugly." she's just like this, like, and her colors, and it's just crazy. Anyway, so when you're a chicken owner, you know not to say it's your that any bird is your favorite because they die. And I'm like, no, you can't die. Last night, or yesterday. So, okay, so I'm going to pour my tea and be right back. Okay. So based on the size of my eyes, you can see I'm probably going to be tired today. So I have a friend who is going through a divorce. And I don't know why this one's bothering me so much. It is breaking my heart. Divorce just breaks your heart, period. But ever since my parents divorced, I learned what it's like to be a child of divorce. And it is the most horrible situation I've ever experienced. It is the most heartbreaking. This is where the video diary comes in here, because the damage that divorce does to a child is just crazy. And I know sometimes divorce has to happen. I understand it. I understand that sometimes people can't work it out. When you're a Christian person, you kind of, because you're a Christian, you have an obligation to do everything you can possibly do to repair it first. I mean, that's just it's the way I think it's supposed to be, according to our faith and whatever. But I feel like there you have unless it's unless it's a really like bad situation where you are in fear of your life or something. I feel like there is an obligation there. And if you don't have children, whatever, do what you want. I don't care, But if you have a child or two or four, you need to make sure that once you have children and you've brought in a child's life to a divorce situation, to a marriage situation, to a family, you have an obligation to do everything you can possibly do to work on it through therapy, through counseling, through your pastor, through communication. Your child needs to be talked to. You need to make sure that your child is in no way feeling any responsibility whatsoever to divorce. My mom was really good about making sure that my brother Mike and I were blamed, basically telling us it was our fault. And it was for an adult who is in their 30s, it was devastating to hear her say that, devastating to go through. For a child, when people start to go through that, a child that is being told everything, who is being given information that they're not supposed to be given. A child has two parents, and those parents are two people they love. These are two people who are the foundation of their life. And if there's a family with more than one child, and you go through a divorce, and you do it in an ugly way, it completely destroys the family. It changes the people. It changes the grandchildren. It changes who they are. It changes their life. It changes their thought process. It makes them not trust people. And the particular things that go through a child's mind when going through a divorce is devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And when you hear a parent who is bad mouthing the other parent, who is saying, oh, well, he did this, he did that, well, or standing there, when a mom is standing there and her children are behind her and she's telling you all the horrible things that this husband, their father, did. And the children are listening to this. I just want to scream because this is not how you do it. It's not right. A child, whether they are 5 or 32, you do not give a child information about their parent or badmouth their parent and give them, especially inaccurate, blown up information about their father or their mother or whatever in an effort to vent or in an effort to get the child on your side or whatever. That's selfish and it's mean and it damages the child, and that child will go through depression and that child can go through illness. My illness is because of my parents' divorce. I couldn't get out of it. I loved my mom. I was extremely close to my mom. And my mom would not stop bad-mouthing my dad. And because of it, I couldn't be around her because she wouldn't stop. She couldn't stop. She just, she felt bad about what she did, and so she kept trying to validate it. And that's just one scenario of how things go. But when you have a child who especially already has a depression problem, and you're going through a situation where you and your spouse is not getting along, you have children, you do everything you can possibly do to make sure that you do this in the right way for the sake of the child. If you don't do it, you're going to end up with problems. You just are. Your child is going to have depression. Your child is going to probably get sick. Your child's life, future, marriage will all of those things will be changed. All of those, they will feel abandoned. They will lose when, people don't understand when you go through a divorce, they don't think out all the parts of it. And in my mom and dad's case, and you don't think about this, but when this happens, you don't just lose family. You lose family and friends. You lose everybody. So like your mom's friends and your dad's friends, well, gone. Except for like those really, really awesome ones. But my mom turned the awesome ones against her children. Her side, she turned against her children. Part of my dad's side, she turned against her children. And the people who are in that family, they either disperse or they choose a side. And that's what the child is left with. So not only does the child lose that family, parent, mother, father, home, safe foundation that they get to live in, and with this world the way it is, be safe and loved and secure and knowing, this is home. I don't have two. I'm not being passed back and forth. I don't have to listen to dad badmouth mom. I don't have to listen to mom badmouth dad. You have to think about the fact that when you divorce, what that is going to entail. Think of it way in advance before you go through that paperwork, because you could destroy your children. And I mean in huge ways. You can change who they are. So, I need to get off my soapbox. But I do have, I have several friends who have gone through divorce, and they're going through different parts of that with their children. who have gone through their children were devastated through it, and it changed who they were, and they went through so much. But this, this particular one is hitting me hard. And it's hitting me hard because there's a child involved who already is having issues, has already had a lot of things that have been hard on him. And I love this family. And I love this person. And this is a godly person. And it's just breaking my heart. So, anyway, getting off my soapbox, that you're probably going to have an opinion on this. I know everybody does. But anybody who has gone through a divorce kind of sort of understands what I'm talking about. Sorry, but they do. And sometimes you have to just, depending on the situation. Granted, I understand sometimes because my dad was abusive when we were young, when we were very young. And at that point in time, my mom should have probably divorced him. But by the time she did, he was no longer abusive. In fact, he spoiled her rotten. So I understand there are situations where you do have to get out. There are situations where you cannot tolerate the behavior and you have to get out. But even in those situations, I feel like you still should go through counseling. You still should go through the process of doing it the right way for the sake of the children. And if one parent won't do it or the other parent won't do it or something, I don't know. I feel like there should be some sort of requirement when you have children that it has to be done. I feel like there should be some sort of legal requirement where you have to go through, before you can divorce, you have to go through a class on how to do it correctly so that the child does not become destroyed. Because I think a lot of the things that are happening in the world today is because there are so many children that have endured divorce, and one in every two marriages end in divorce. So think about that. And if you're someone who's going through it, do it the right way. My mom was so sorry that she did it the wrong way. She was so sorry. She was on her deathbed and she was saying, I would have never done this because I lost too much. And that was her experience. She has no idea what her children lost. She has no idea what her grandchildren lost. So in her experience, just herself, I lost too much, she said. And, if she lost that much, can you imagine everybody? You just do not know the amount of the huge amount of people that are affected by a divorce, especially if you have a big family, especially if you have a family that loves you, especially if you have a daughter or a child who is interwoven with you, like I was with my mom. I mean, I called her every day, multiple times a day. I saw her several times a week, if not almost every day. And the loss, the devastation of that loss of her, you feel abandoned. And you do, whether they say, I'm not leaving you, I'm just leaving your dad. No, you feel left. You feel dumped. You feel abandoned. Your family has just been broken into pieces. And you feel abandoned. You feel left. And that feeling is very hard to work through. And that feeling can influence the rest of your life with your children. And your children, I remember shortly after my parents you have to watch because sometimes you're talking in the kitchen and got little ears in the living room. But I remember shortly after my parents had decided that they were divorcing, I had a little boy come to my doorway right over there, crying, just tears pouring down his face, saying, "Are you going to divorce Daddy? Or are you and Mom going to get a divorce?" That's what he said. And we just went, no, this is not about us. This is because he was hearing bits and pieces of conversation. And so he didn't understand it. And he was only like 7. And so he was bawling in the doorway, asking Bruce and I if we were going to get a divorce. That child from that day on became quieter than he had ever been before. And it was just horrible. So think about it, please. Just really think about it. Try to do it the right way. If you're going to do it, if you have to do it the right way. Go through all of the steps that you can possibly do. Take yourself and throw that self out the window for right now and put your child first. Put your children first. And don't tell yourself, "Oh, I am putting my child first. That's why we're leaving." Okay, well, there's still a way to do it. There's still a way to do it right, because that child will always have that father. That child will always have that mother. And so you need to make it to where that child's experience in life feels safe and protected and loved, that they're not bounced around all over the place, that they don't have this very insecure situation where they're not listening to parents fighting and bad-mouthing each other. And, I put boundaries up. I just had to be like, "Nope, you can't. Sorry. If you're going to do that, you got to go. You just got to go. I can't have you, in my kitchen telling me you're going to sue my father." Or, all these other lovely things that are coming out. You can't do that to those kids. So, sorry. I guess I don't know why it went that direction. This is kind of how my diaries go. Or my blogs even. I start to do something, and then it just goes into a subject, and I go, "Ooh, I'm going into this subject. Wonder why." But this is just my experience, and I know there's a lot of other people who have had the experience too. And you can't doubt. I mean, no one can deny that there's a right and a wrong way to do it. And I know a lot of times our little brains, our little me gets in, just is right there, and we're all super absorbed in ourselves that we're not thinking about the little person who's sitting there sucking their thumb and with their blanket and is taking it all in, and you don't even realize it. So anyway, so today is probably going to be laundry, and my tea is awesome. It is very good. And what's so funny is that I'll have a tea. Bruce will have a tea, and then I'll put vitamin C packets in the tea. Let them bubble up. Those emergency packets. Let them bubble up, do their thing, stir it around, and drink that. And it's kind of tastes good. It's kind of like putting tang in your tea. And we get our vitamin C that way. And when we take that vitamin C, it really does keep us from getting sick. Although Bruce has got a scratchy throat right now, probably from, being out in the whatever's blowing around. So, okay, well, I guess that's all. That was a really depressing one. I'm sorry. I don't like to do depressing video diaries, but I guess God leads me in a direction. And this particular story, or this particular situation, has been heavy on my heart because I've watched children with depression, and I have been a mom of a child with depression. I have been driving in my car and had a phone call where my child is like, I don't want to live, and you take that car, you turn it around, you drive home as fast as you possibly can, because that child is going through whatever crap, hormones or whatever. And I've been there, and it scares the hell out of you, and you don't add to it. You got to make sure to be safe. And depression is just, golly, so many people have it. So, I have really, the niacin and the hops has really, really helped with mine. I am on Prozac, but I also am on medication that can cause depression. And so because of that, it's kind of two things working against each other thing. So the niacin is actually known as a natural antidepressant, but don't go off of your antidepressant and don't take these and then think, oh, I'm doing so great, I'm going to go off of my antidepressant. No, just stay on it, because that's when problems happen. And but the hops, huge difference for me. I take 2 in the morning and I take 2 in the evening, and it is 180 capsules in this bottle with 310 milligrams, I guess is that per pill. Yeah, you're supposed to take 2 capsules, which is 620 milligrams. And basically it's hops flour, which is what makes beer, flavors beer. And it has really, really helped my mood. And if I forget to take it, I turn into PMS woman without the PMS. And then the niacin is just known for, it says metabolism support, but it's also helps nervous system support, nervous system health. But if you look up niacin, or you look up some of these documentaries and stuff, we'll talk about niacin as being helpful. And whenever I go to my doctor, they always ask me, well, how much niacin are you taking? So evidently it does something. So you guys, I've 37 minutes. You can't get back. Sorry. And I will make sure to put on the label of this my opinion on divorce, so that it is, you don't have to watch it if you don't want to. It's just, everybody has what they've gone through. And, I feel like God gives you something, and he allows you to go through different things. And then he expects you to use those things to help others. And if this video that I'm making helps one person to choose to do something the right way to save a child, then it's good. Even just one. And like I said, when it comes down to it, my business is just what God puts in my hands. And he has allowed me to go through a lot of things, and I use those things to teach or to help, to give my information, whatever I went through, whatever I endured, or whatever. Autoimmune disease is something that is caused by stress. And when you have too much fight or flight hormones in your body going all the time, you get sick. And it depends on the person. I'm a real sensitive person, so obviously it was kind of like pouring fuel on really old wood, nice seasoned old wood. Just so we've learned a lot of healing stuff with like meditation and good food, organic food, and juices that have good things in them and stuff like that. And so, take care of yourself, because this stuff, you only have one body, and it's supposed to be our temple. We're supposed to take really good care of it. And we need to do that. And different things that stress our body, like taxes and bills and money and our marriage and divorce and all of that kind of stuff. A lot of times money is the cause of divorce. Those things we need to just put them away and give them to God. And, what is more important, whether your credit score is good or whether you're alive? So, anyway, just my 2 cents, and you can agree or disagree. Doesn't matter. I'm just giving my my part of what I've experienced in my life, and I feel like it's what God expects of me. So, you guys have an awesome, awesome day. Love your family. Pray for your family, and I will see you possibly tomorrow. Okay.